Hi guys, this is Annette with Annette's Astrology Corner, and this is your daily horoscope and energy reading for October 5th, which is Monday. And today we have the moon in Cancer, and it is squaring off with Uranus and Aries. So Uranus and Aries is the Great Awakener. A little bit about Uranus energy. I mean, yes, it's a planet of unexpected. Anything goes with that planet. But it's also a planet that awakens some of your deepest desires, and it asks you to individuate yourself, meaning that you need to stand out as an individual, and you need to be authentic, and you need to be totally comfortable in what your specific gifts are. And a lot of times, Aries and Uranus will challenge some of your ego-based responses because we tend to want to mold ourselves to be more like a collective personality. But anytime that you have Uranus and Aries, and this whole time that you've had Uranus and Aries, it's asked you to individuate yourself, to stand out, to be authentic, to live a life of pleasure and ego-seeking fulfillment, right? So some of the struggles that I see today, and you know, there's quite a bit of opposition in quincunx, but now we both know I love opposition energy because opposition energy is just two energies that are here that just want to be here, so they need to meet in the middle. And we have a bunch of beautiful Libran energy all throughout this week, asking us to compromise and to take a look at our partnerships, and yes, to stand out and individuate our energy, but we also need to individualize our needs and wants, but we need to communicate about them. Now, with Uranus and Aries, this can be very difficult. Now, we're at the end of that. I don't see it being a problem in the near future, but you are taking a look at relationships from the past and the relationships of the present, and you're accumulating the data, and you're really starting to see a trend, or starting to see you're starting to have an idea of exactly what you want moving forward. So the Sun in Libra today is going to be squaring off with Pluto and Capricorn. So to me, this suggests that I think you're just trying to balance your internal power with what you externally desire and want. So it may be hard because many people live in a contradiction. I know that I do. I know that for the most part, when I'm a teacher, I live in a contradiction. Not that they're not both parts of me, right? Not that they don't represent parts of myself, but if I wanted to be an individual, if I really wanted to identify myself, I think I'm most authentic on my channel because I'm genuinely me. I act like me, I talk like me, I dress like me, and some days I'm one way and some days I'm another. And I'm a person who seeks to stand out because I have a 10th house in Aquarius. But when I'm in real life, that's not an acceptable way to be. And so I accommodate myself. Yes, I still outwardly express who I am and what I authentically desire to be, but I do it in a way that is socially acceptable. So I think sometimes when we're dealing with this Sun in Libra, squaring off with Pluto, and we've got this moon in Cancer, squaring off with Uranus and Aries, and then we have the Sun in Libra opposing Uranus and Aries. I think we're trying to blend those two worlds at this point. We want to live as authentic as possible. Now, for many people who aren't used to our authentic stances, people there is some pushback, and I think that's okay. Because we're taking a look at everything. Pushback is really interesting because it allows us to understand if our barometer is kind of pointing in the right direction. When we have a moon in Cancer like this, I think we're, and when the moon is in Cancer, it is in its home-based energy. And when it's in its home-based energy like this, I think you're the most comfortable emotionally with what you authentically desire. And I think the reason why we're experiencing the squares and the oppositions and this Pluto square is because we really honestly are starting to feel like we don't care about general populace approval or overall approval. What we're starting to want to do is stand out on an individual basis and get noticed that way. And I think there is a little bit of fear associated with that, and that could be some of the opposition and squares that we seek today. Now, I think the most confusing thing about all of this energy, so we're just about ready to have all of our nodes move into Virgo and Pisces, and so we're going on a whole new thought process. It's not about partnerships and egos as much anymore as it will be about setting up routines and getting what we desire, getting organized, and dealing with some of these unconscious issues that we have. And so as this energy shift starts to take place, I think many of you that are very in tune with energy are going to start to feel very much so this energy shift. It's starting. You're feeling it. You're feeling the difference in the air. There's if you're attracting people and partnerships in your life right now, they may be challenging some of their old belief systems about you, but they may also be attracted to the new you. So I think sometimes there's a balance in balancing all of that out. It's like, I had an epiphany, I had an awakening, and the old me is, yes, still there, and I very much identify with it. My core is still my core, though. I think for so many of you, we were so suppressed in trying to get collective thinkers on board with who we were. So we were trying to mold ourselves with collective thinking. But I think as we're starting to come out of that, as that whole Aries and Libra's transit really modified some of our thinking on that, I really believe that some of us are starting to come out with a new awakening to that type of old mindset. So today, I think what we're dealing with is we're starting to look back at our past and how we used to identify our ego, right? And that was socially acceptable, but there's an awakening, there's a need to stand out, there's a need to be entirely different, that will invoke some fear today, right? And I think for you, I think you might be somewhat fearful that this might affect your current position or your current job or your current relationships. And I think you have a really big enthusiasm for the new you, for this new mindset, for the new energy shift. I think many of you are starting to feel it. There's new opportunity, there's new hope, there's new dreams, there's new desires. And this is all a very big time of change in the right direction. But with manifesting, anytime that you take yourself from one mindset and turn yourself into another mindset, I think at times, sometimes it can be very confusing to identify self. Like, who are you? Like, who do you represent anymore? You have something great to offer. You have something monumental. There is something that stands out. And it's in your head, and you're trying to get people to get on board with it and recognize the new you and the new belief systems that you have, and this enthusiasm for something, right? But I think with Mercury being in retrograde and it conjunct the North Node today, I think you're feeling this push, but there's a drawback to the past. So there's still something to learn from the past. There's still something to evaluate. And I think for many of you, that could be with routines, just old routines. Like, you've got to fine tune. Like, if you want a new start and you want a new you and you want a new opportunity and you want a new partnership and you want a new lifestyle change, you've got to drop some of the old habits, the old routines, the old rituals that you have that limit your belief systems, limit your possibilities, and limit who you are. So I think today is just one of those days where partners could challenge that. Now, anytime that Venus is in Leo and being quincunxed by the South Node in Aries, that suggests to me that what you're experiencing is key relationships, creative endeavors may challenge some of the ways that you want to move forward. Now, look, anytime that we're challenged negatively, I think we learn the most, right? If we're just trined, we never learn, right? And if we're squared, we learn, and it's an unpleasant experience, but I think sometimes our ego gets in the way of learning that true experience. And I think if we're in opposition, I think we're so busy concentrating on meeting in the middle that we often miss the message on that one. But definitely when we hit a quincunx is a roadblock. It's an obstacle within our path. And for many of you today, Venus is going to be in Leo, and this has to do with either creative endeavors, heart-based endeavors, love, absolutely. It's going to be quincunxing your ego. So somebody may come up and challenge your ego and ask you to get real with what you initially put on the table. Ego is going to play a big part in today. I think dropping the ego and learning to use your emotional barometer, because Cancer, the moon is in Cancer, so the emotional barometer is to partnership, it's to settle down, it's to nurture, it's to love, it's to seek equality, it's a very beautiful moon. And when it's in its home energy, I think it's less emotional, right? But if you're in these quincunxes, you definitely may feel a little bit emotional because you have so much that's manifesting in your life, and you have so much opportunity. And right now, Jupiter is really asking you to expand your potential and really asking you to take a look at your routines and get the most out of them. But I think for some of you, that's really difficult because it's almost like there's so much on the table that you don't know what way to go, right? And you're getting some pushback from some partners of yours who are identifying you with your old self. So I think you're trying to understand when we have this ego death, right? And you will understand this when we get down to 0 degrees and when it jumps over into Virgo energy, Virgo and Pisces energy, and we start hitting that 29 degrees mark, I think you're going to feel a lot of this ego-based challenge really lighten up. But for now, because we're in that end, we're in the technically 0 degrees is the beginning, right? So technically we went backwards in energy. So we went from really challenging that energy to the beginning, right? The new beginning is, who is the new you? Who is the new ego? How are you identifying yourself? And that lies the challenge. You don't know yet, right? You don't know because there's a lot of work to do. That is when the nodes in Virgo and Pisces are going to become very wonderful for you, because they are going to shed some light on the unconscious realms. You're going to start to clean out all those old boxes, and you're going to start to get your routines in order to manifest this brand new you. Today is just a weird energy because you're being challenged, but at the same time, you're being very, very stimulated positively. And so I love the energy today. Mercury in Libra in retrograde is going to be sextiling Saturn and Sagittarius. So I think any reflection that you have back from the past is something to be learned from and to be released from. Thank you guys so much for watching Annette's Astrology Corner, and I look forward to talking to you guys again tomorrow.